Well, here we go. Episode 34 of the What Do We Do podcast. Kyle Bogey, Dewey Steffen here inside the headquarters of Great Lakes Wealth. And Dewey, we've made the transition here in 2021 to guests appearing on the What Do We Do podcast. And I can certainly speak for myself, and you're about to allude to it as well. A friend of yours, professional relationship as well. We're really happy to have this second guest of the year with us here on the What Do We Do podcast.
Yes, absolutely, Kyle. And before we give him his formal and respectable introduction, we're going to remind the viewers, the listeners, that this podcast is all about community and our involvement in giving back to the community. And as we've said before, you have a lot to say, Kyle. Sully over there, he's a man of many, many words. I add a little bit of value, but when we can get into our community and grab those leaders, those professionals that can give a little different insight, that makes everyone that much better, right? So with that, I would love to introduce today Casey Hurbis. Casey, welcome. Good to see you, my
thanks.
man.
Episode 34.
34.
Well, I've listened to 33 of them, and now I'm here.
Wow.
So I'm excited.
A P1, a dedicated listener.
Long-time listener, first-time guest.
Yes, you're the second guest ever. Right?
That's
and so
amazing.
we practiced with the first one, and this is the go time.
All right.
So with that, listen, everyone, Casey Hurbis is the Chief Marketing Officer of Quicken Loans. He oversees both online and traditional marketing initiatives while driving new, innovative strategies to captivate the audience of the nation's largest and most trusted mortgage lender, Rocket Mortgage. Mm-hmm. To achieve these goals, Casey leads a marketing group of more than 300 team members known as Detroit's premier in-house agency. And Bogey, as they say, timing is everything, right? Well, just 3 days ago on Sunday, we had the Super Bowl. Can you imagine right after that and the commercial that we saw from Rocket Mortgage? This is one of the great reasons and examples of why Casey's here. Under Casey's leadership, Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans launched one of 2021's highest-rated Super Bowl commercials, starring Hollywood A-lister Tracy Morgan.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And his team also announced an exclusive multi-year partnership with the NFL, making Rocket Mortgage the first official mortgage sponsor of the NFL in over a decade. And I'm not done. I'm going to go quick, but you have no idea how important this is. Along with Quicken Loans, Casey oversees the marketing efforts for other successful businesses within the Rock family of companies, including Quicken Loans Mortgage Services, Rocket Homes, and Rocket Central, which helps to elevate these brands into their respective industries. Last, but certainly not least, Casey joined the Quicken Loans family in 2017 after, I can't believe this, Casey, because I've known you this long, 24 years in automotive marketing. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? Most recently leading advertising and communications for Fiat, where he helped successfully introduce the Fiat brand to American car buyers. With that, Casey Hurbis, thanks for coming on. What do we do?
Hey, man. Thanks, Bogey. Dewey, thanks for having me. I'm super excited jumping in. I think it's absolutely a great honor to have a chance to chat with you guys and talk about what's happening in the community and the market and, see if I can't bring a little value to the discussion.
You're already bringing value because I feel severely underdressed, okay? I wish I would have known pocket square, coat, everything. This is unbelievable.
I've been in sweatpants and a golf pullover for 12 months.
As we all have,
when
right?
I got the phone call to come to Great Lakes Wealth, I was like, I had to blow the dust off the jacket today, throw the flower on, little pocket square. It's the first time I've been out in a year, so kind of excited.
Well, with all that, Casey, I want to start at the beginning, right? I want you to talk about your Detroit roots. I know you're a local guy. I've known you for a long time. But with that, please just talk about your background in Metro Detroit and then your path to being CMO at Quicken Loans.
Yeah, I'm so born and raised in Metro Detroit area. My father was a firefighter in Ferndale for 26 years. And when I graduated from high school, I somehow had grades to go to the school just about 45 miles northwest of you in East Lansing. I don't know how the grades now. I don't think I could get into Ohio State, but did 4 years at Michigan State, was an advertising major, came out of school. Like a lot of things in life, I had a neighbor and a networking opportunity where somebody helped me get my first start at an ad agency, right? A lot of times, sometimes your first jobs, it's not necessarily what you know, but it's who you know, but you got to apply the what once you got there. And I started working for Chrysler's agency right out of school, and it was an awesome 17-year run. I was 23 years old. I moved down to Memphis, Tennessee. I'd never been south of the Mason-Dixie line, which was very interesting, moving from the north down to south for a couple of years. Learned a lot about myself and community and culture. And then after Memphis, I moved to Houston for 2 years. Loved it down there. What an amazing city and culture, really vibrant place. Would love to retire down there, actually, one day. Then moved back up to Detroit, and was with the agency that supported Chrysler for 17 years, and had a great run there. Loved it. Worked with car dealers, which, we've all dealt with car dealers. I mean, they are brilliant business people, pillars in the community, and they can challenge you, right? Especially when it comes to advertising and marketing. But I learned a lot working with car dealers. And then I had a chance is when Chrysler went into bankruptcy, came out of bankruptcy. That changed a lot in the advertising community in Detroit. General Motors had their agency relationship for over 95 years. That went away. Chrysler, we were their agency for 65 years. That went away. The OEMs, the automakers, had to make changes, and rightfully so. And during the midst of that change, a client of mine at Chrysler asked me if I'd join Chrysler. And this was just as Mr. Marchioni and the Italians were coming over and, changing the name to, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. And so I joined Chrysler in 2011. And right when I got there, so I went being the agency guy to the client, literally on a Friday and a Monday. And when I got there, was asked to lead the Fiat brand, launching back in the U.S., and that was a complete wild ride. I mean, it was a chance. There's not many times in your career you get to, in automotive marketing, to launch a brand while also building a dealer network. It really hadn't been done since Mini Cooper did it in 2001, and we're doing it in 2010 and 11. The media and the advertising world had changed so much, and it was tough times in 2011 and 12, right, where the market was. And it was awesome. Like, traveled the world, shot a few Super Bowl ads, worked with a bunch of celebrities, was awesome. And along the way, I got a phone call from our CEO, Jay Farner, and who was the CMO and president down at Quicken Loans, and asked me to come down and interview for the CMO job. Took a few months, and here we are 4 years later, and it is awesome. Born and raised in Metro Detroit, to be downtown, work downtown with a great company, people, and culture is I'm very, very blessed. It's been a very, very fast 4 years. In some ways, it feels like 4 minutes. In some ways, it feels like 40 years. But it's been just an amazing, blessed experience so far.
Well, Casey, we get to talk quite a bit. And after 24 years and all of that you just went through, I know that you're just getting started, right?
Yeah.
Like we say here on the podcast. So, with that, why don't you just focus in on that transition over to Quicken Loans and what I hear is Detroit's in-house agency, and why is that a big deal?
Yeah, and so and you guys, in the business and being in the marketplace, Detroit advertising community is huge. It's one of the largest in the country. Obviously, built on the backs of the automakers. We still have, thousands of employees in the marketplace that work in marketing and advertising. And you have a lot of ad agencies, and you have media companies, and you have publishers. A lot of the media companies and publishers have brick and mortar in Detroit, servicing the automakers and now brands and companies like Quicken Loans and Carhartt, Little Caesars, so on and so forth. And so I did 17 years on the agency side, and then my 7 years at Chrysler, we were pretty much solely dependent on agencies. And so now at Quicken Loans, we have our own in-house agency team, as you mentioned, and to me, it's the best of both worlds. So it's I wear the hat of we'll call it the client, overseeing all the creative work half the day, and the other half the day, I'm running a large in-house agency of 300 team members where we're doing everything between Super Bowl and T-shirts and everywhere in between. So for me, you had mentioned just getting started. I tell people too, like, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, and I've been doing this 28 years. So I don't know how many more years are left on the tires, but there's plenty left on the treads, and I'm excited to see what can happen. And I think I'm at the perfect company in the best city in the world to make that happen.
Well, it's no secret that with Dan Gilbert and Jay Farner, your predecessor in that role, they started, I guess, down this path, right? And they've handed it to you to kind of take it to that next level, right? So as we talk about all the different components that go into it, can we start with the NFL partnerships and like just most recent Super Bowl, the commercial, and maybe focus on that what we just saw and how it went down and how much planning and all that kind of goes into it, and then maybe the rest with the Super Bowl squares. All of this is amazing, right?
Want to start with Super Bowl?
Let's do it.
I mean, I haven't slept in, I'm going on about 40 days.
So
I know it doesn't look like it, but I've not literally
So
slept
talk
in 40
about
days.
Super Bowl. You're at
Yeah.
home with your wife and your kids watching the game
I'm
with
at
popcorn,
work
right?
watching it with about 30 people watching
You have
social
a
and
you have a
different,
war room. I've seen it. You have a war room. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, we have a smaller scale war room this year because of doing everything in a safe and healthy manner. But last year in our Super Bowl commercial with Jason Momoa, we had 50 people, and we're going from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. and it is like, it's like mission control, social, digital, PR, activating our Super Bowl squares, so on and so forth. But doing a Super Bowl ad, and I've shared the story with young people in the business and wherever I'm blessed enough to talk. Doing a Super Bowl ad as a marketer is the most terrifying, painful 30 or 60 seconds of your life.
Because it's pass fail, like that.
And you're exactly right, Bogey. And when you say pass fail, it's like, to bring a Super Bowl ad to life is generally 6 to 7 months. And, there's a lot of work, right? Look at finding the right idea. Then you're like, okay, the idea generally for Super Bowl involves celebrities or music. Then you've got to get the celebrity and the music on board. Oh, by the way, you got to find the right director. Then you got to figure out where to shoot it. And then, and for a 60-second commercial in the Super Bowl, you could be shooting 5 to 7 days, 12 to 14 hours a day to get 60 seconds of film, right? So there's a lot of stress just to walk out, to flip the camera off, walk off set, get on a plane, come home, and then you're like, all right, we got it in the can. Now, then the hard work starts is how do you take 7 days of shooting 14 hours a day, all that film, and put it, the Jenga pieces together to develop a 60-second piece. And at the end of the day, you put it up there, and then you sit back, and it's a strange feeling. Now, this was my 6th Super Bowl spot that I've been a part of, and it's the oddest feeling because it's the spot comes up, and it then goes to the next commercial, right? It goes from Rocket Mortgage to wherever, UPS or wherever the other brands are. And you think you're celebrating, it's literally just like, it's kind of like all that, and it's done. And then you sit there, and then the world we live in today, and we all know this, it is, judge and jury of this, or this. And it's, it's like anything else. It could be 90% this, but it's that 10% of this that just grinds on you, and it makes you want to be, to be better, like, oh, what did I miss, or where are our blind spots?
So with that being said, because that fascinates me, and obviously Rocket Mortgage is everywhere. There's branding, there's commercials, there's all of these things that you guys are doing, and that's more so simply just to make sure the messaging is out there and make sure that Rocket Mortgage and Quicken Loans is just simply everywhere. But with a Super Bowl ad, you're trying to shock, awe, wow, entertain. I got to believe there is so much other thinking. That's probably why you haven't slept in 40 days, because it's a completely different mindset, I feel, than normal ads.
Yeah. If I could tell them real quick,
Yeah.
for the listeners out there, in the past, Casey's team is responsible for, which Casey led that team at Fiat, for the one, if you remember the old guy, I think in Italy, that was dropping the Viagra down the
Blue pill,
whatever, down the drain pipe into the car that takes off,
yeah.
right? That was, cutting edge stuff that it's like, again, it's not just.
that spot, it was like we shot it in Tuscany for 2 weeks, which was not a bad place to hang out.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like the whole idea was that an older gentleman went to go pop a quote unquote blue pill in his mouth. It falls all through the Italian village, falls into the gas tank of a Fiat 500, and then the Fiat 500 expands and to a Fiat, the bigger and more powerful Fiat 500X. And I remember thinking was, oh my God, Viagra's going to sue the crap out of us when the spot aired, and you didn't know because it was cheeky and people loved it. America, I think it was number 3 on USA Today Ad Meter that day, and we weren't even trying. Really, it was like we just thought it was a really fun idea that lined up with the brand.
But when I knew that was happening, I thought to myself, if this goes wrong, the CEO of the company goes right into Casey's office. And says, are you like the blame comes to, if it's a success they keep, the blame goes the other way. So then the next year, I think it was maybe the next year, was where there was a woman on the beach with a top and some kind of scorpion or something like undoes the top or something. I'm like, what is going on here? Is that accurate too?
Those are accurate stories. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what happened to like the Clydesdales cruising through town?
No, Budweiser has Clydesdales, Fiat had Scorpions and supermodels
and blue pills.
And blue
so
pills.
talk about this one we just saw a few days ago. What was the genesis of that? And are you got to be ecstatic with the results? I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, just awesome. In which 7 months ago we started. We worked with ad agencies, and generally we're an in-house agency, but when it comes to Super Bowl, we'll bring outside creative agencies in, because when you go spend as much money you do, I mean, a 60-second spot in the Super Bowl's $9 million plus, plus production, plus, the cost, to bring it all to life. So you want to make sure you have the right idea. And so starting in July, we started looking at ideas and working with agencies. So we saw 150 ideas. And over the course of time, you start to whittle them down. Like, this doesn't make sense. Let's work this. Is there a celebrity? Now we're seeing, like, very ironically, is a lot of the ads we saw last weekend, we had ideas with those celebrities, but they didn't make sense along the way. But ultimately, you land on our idea that we just ran. It's our, pretty sure versus certain with Tracy Morgan. We saw it very early, actually the first round of creative, and the creative agency pitched it using Tracy's, the creative director did a knockdown impersonation of it, and the agency left the room, and we all looked back and we're like, that might be it. And it was early. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's early. I mean, a lot of things can happen, but over the course of time, we're like, we decided, like, this is the idea. Then you got to go get Tracy on board. I mean, it could all fall apart if Tracy's like, hey, I'm already doing something, or I'm tied up in another he's in Coming to America, and Tracy's like, I love it. Let's do it. And we're like, okay. And let's figure out some other friends that could join us. And we did that with David Bautista and Liza Koshy and Nick Bosa. And, it's the whole idea is, with Rocket Mortgage, we want to make sure, when, especially during this time, especially from March 11th on, home has meant so much more than ever. It means so much to people nowadays, right? And so we want to make sure that, with Rocket Mortgage, America's largest lender, that people know that we're there for them, and that whatever we can do to help a client, achieve the American dream, we're there for them. So the timing is perfect, and was perfect to be in the Super Bowl. And we love this idea because the idea, as you saw, was Tracy of, setting up the case of like, hey, I'm not sure if we're ready. You and I are, let's say, a couple, and it's looking at a house, and it's like, hey, Dewey, I'm not sure if we're, refi for finance. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm pretty sure. And when pretty sure cannot work when it comes to trying to purchase a home. You got to be certain. You saw Tracy take him through just insane scenes. You guys saw it. I mean, it is like jumping out of planes, bears, football player, Bosa flipping over cars, crazy stuff. We actually shot 5 or 6 extra things that didn't make it. They're on the edit room floor right now. And Tracy was awesome. I mean, sometimes when you work with celebrities, you don't know what you get. I mean, over the years is, you think you're going to meet somebody and you're not sure if they are who they are. And we've been really, really blessed. We did a Super Bowl ad with Keegan-Michael Key a few years ago, with Jason Momoa last year, and Tracy this year. And I will tell you, any one of them could be sitting here with us today, and they are just like good people. And that's what makes it even better, is like, it's a true partnership working with somebody, and they're investing in the creative, and they want to make it better because it helps their brand as well. I mean, let's be honest. We're putting these folks in front of 130 million people, but here we are. So super awesome. I'm going to take a knee for about 30 days, and then we're going to start thinking about next year, because it's a 7-8 month process.
Well, again, maybe a little biased, maybe for today, but I'm going to tell you unequivocally that was the best commercial on Sunday during the game. Absolutely. You kidding me? For sure. Mm-hmm. You texted me right away and said you better vote right now, right?
You're on blast.
I got it for sure. All right, well, stay on that topic in terms of the squares, Barry Sanders, and everything else, because again, Kyle and listeners and viewers, what he just said, that's your whole year. If you have a job, if you have a career, that's what you do, is just that. You have, again, we'll talk about the Rocket Mortgage Classic. We're going to talk about all the other things, but talk about Barry Sanders and the rest of your relationship with the NFL.
Yeah, so we formed a partnership with the NFL a couple years ago, and it's an interesting story, and I've been public about it, so I'd love to tell it again. We wanted to do, our brand, we've done these stunts over the years. If you recall, Quicken Loans at the time with Michigan State, North Carolina, the game on the aircraft carrier.
For sure.
First brand to bring a game on aircraft carrier a few years ago, 5 or 6, 7 years ago. Quicken Loans and Warren Buffett did the $1 billion bracket. Pick a perfect bracket, win $1 billion. That was a year where I think everybody was out the first weekend, because there was 2 15-2 upsets at the time.
Warren Buffett was involved with that.
Warren Buffett was, yep.
Right.
Quicken Loans program, and Warren was Berkshire Hathaway was part of that as well.
You heard of this guy, Warren Buffett?
Vaguely familiar.
Sully,
yes.
It's Sully's idol. Sully's over there in the control room going, I love that guy.
Older version of Dewey Stephan.
Hey guys, it's Bogey. I want to take a second to talk to you about Dewey Stephan and his excellent team at Great Lakes Wealth. Look, do you feel overwhelmed with managing your assets in today's financial world? I mean, think about the times we're in. Do you want financial freedom instead? Great Lakes Wealth offers Wall Street solutions with Main Street values. They sit down with you to develop custom financial solutions utilizing all of your assets, even your 401k. They build the future you want based on your goals and your dreams. That's what Great Lakes Wealth is all about. Thinking about you, thinking about your family, and thinking about your future. Simply go to greatlakeswealth.us to schedule an appointment today. They offer better investments and better service than anyone out there. Your road to financial freedom starts at greatlakeswealth.us. Please visit greatlakeswealth.us or simply give Great Lakes Wealth a call today.
Goes through McDonald's every day, orders the same thing.
Drink the Coke and the Dairy Queen, baby.
Exactly right. We want to do the stunt. We'll call it a stunt, a program. Like, hey, let's do like the country's largest squares. I mean, I don't care if you're 8 or 80. We've all grown up playing squares. It's one of the great things to do, and whether you're an NFL fan or not. And we want to do these Super Bowl squares, and we're like, we're going to do it, and we had the confidence to do it with or without the NFL. I mean, obviously, in the marketing world, you got to make sure everyone's okay with it. We called the NFL to come into town, and they met with us, and we pitched them the idea. And they said, wow, like, you're saying that you want to do the Super Bowl squares, and you're not going to pay out at the half or a quarter, half end of the game. You want to pay every score. The media guy loved it because, like, wow, God forbid there's a score, that, the game's out of hand, which we haven't seen in 10, 15, 20 years. Wow, that's a way for the consumers to maintain interest all the way through. Like, I have a square and I could win $50,000 or $100,000. And so the NFL came back to us and we formed that quick partnership. It was the fastest partnership in Shotgun Wedding I've ever been a part of. We went from first meeting to on air in 5 weeks. And so literally developed the program, got the contract, shot the commercial, and was on air in 5 or 6 weeks. And by the way, doing the Jason Momoa commercial at the same exact time, so that was arduous. And it's awesome. Love working with the NFL. We got partnerships with a number of teams. Work with Barry Sanders. I mean, you guys have met with Barry. I mean, there is nobody nicer, and he's the GOAT. And to have the privilege to work with somebody like Barry, who, he makes his home here and his businesses are here, and he's such a fan of the city, is awesome. We did a commercial this year with Larry Fitzgerald, right? Great wide receiver with the Arizona Cardinals. He was in our ad this year, and he's fantastic. He'll be back at the Rocket Mortgage Classic this year. We got to meet him at the RMC and started to form a relationship. We asked him to be in our commercial this year. And so, partnership with the NFL is pretty cool. I mean, it's the biggest, the NFL brand, if you think about how much that's grown over the last 20, 30 years, it is a 24/7, 365 brand.
It's a monster.
Well, it's a monster, right? As soon as the the final gun goes off on Super Bowl, you're only 6 weeks from the NFL draft and OTAs and camps and and it's an awesome partner to work with, and we feel like as America's largest lender, it's awesome to work with America's biggest brand, sporting brand.
Have you had any of these ideas that don't stand the test of time? They want one and done, anything like that? Any of these ideas?
Over my career, there's been a number of them. I mean, we enjoy putting together are programs that have lasting power, and you evolve. It's like anything else in life. You can set a plan and execute to the plan, and then you get feedback, you get wins, you have losses. It's what you do afterwards is what is important. No different than any other business plan. I mean, last year was our first year of the Rocket Mortgage Classic, or the Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares, and I thought it went awesome, and it performed very well if you look at KPIs. But then we got feedback like, how can we make it better? So we spent the next 4 months like, all right, let's learn, and then how can we make this year's better for our brand, for clients, for an experience, whatever it may be. I mean, we take that philosophy and apply it to everything we do. I mean, one of our operating principles at Quicken Loans, and Dan Gilbert talks about it all the time. Like, if it's okay to fail, but fail fast, learn, and go. I mean, I've never been anywhere where it's like the ability and the empowerment that everybody has within the organization to just go. And one of our isms is we'll figure it out, and I love it. I mean, I use we'll figure it out every single day, and we'll figure it out has been by far the most used ism that we've used since March 11th, so once we moved home. 98% of us moved home almost a year ago. 11 months ago.
So why don't we transition over to the Rocket Mortgage Classic and talk about the golf and bogey? I know this is something that's near and dear to you.
Well, certainly a huge brand, and a tournament that just continues to get bigger and bigger. Obviously, this past year in 2020, unfortunate that fans couldn't be in attendance, but regardless, ended up getting a fantastic event, and it really couldn't have worked out better for you guys with Bryson DeChambeau winning the tournament the same year that he won the U.S. Open.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, probably the most controversial golfer, that calendar year, it just being so polarizing. That had to be, without fans, as big a success as you could probably have hoped for, maybe.
Yeah, it was. And, the Rocket Mortgage Classic was a vision many, many years ago. We used to sponsor the Quicken National out in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. And years ago, the conversation was, how could we, working with the PGA Tour, how could we have a tournament in Detroit? And, we came to an impasse of which there just wasn't a path forward to Detroit. And so, we had a courageous conversation with the PGA Tour and helped them understand how important Detroit was to us. And then we started to open those doors back up. And the Rocket Mortgage Classic was literally born, and it only could be in the city. And, of course, the Detroit Golf Club was the perfect place to be. And 2019 was the first, best, and only year for us. We didn't know what to expect. We sold out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Crowds were great. Hospitality was sold out. The great story of Nate Lashley winning. We had a really strong field. And then so we were doing all the planning going into 2020. And then March 11th, we all went home. And I remember I was supposed to be down actually at the Players tournament because that was the weekend of the Players. Mm-hmm. And I ended up staying because it was like you heard this thing was happening, right? And, there's speculation what was going to happen that week. And so we said, you know what? We're going to take a knee. We're not going to Florida. We're going to be here working. And then if you remember that day, March 11th, it was like, I remember it clear as day. I'm in an office working. All of a sudden you're watching the thing like NBA, players were getting pulled off the ACC tournament floor. Michigan was about to tip off. And all of a sudden, the players, guys were finishing the round. They walked off and they're like, not sure, we'll let you know. And then obviously canceling the weekend because unprecedented. Long story short, so for about 30 days, we weren't sure what was going to happen with the Rocket Mortgage Classic. I mean, we're ordering stuff, and tickets are about to go on sale, and all the right things for a tournament that's going to be played in June. And about 30 days later, the PGA Tour came to us and said, "We have a pathway. We have a pathway to start again," meaning start out the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. PGA Tour, if you remember, was one of the first. It was I think the first sport to turn back on, if you will.
Well, there was a fundraising effort, if I'm not mistaken, a 2v2. There was Matthew Wolff, Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler. Obviously, you guys are familiar with him. And Rory? Was it Rory McIlroy?
I think Rory was. It was like
those
DJ,
four, and that was kind of the start. That was obviously a fundraising event.
Yep.
And then right after that, that's when the PGA got back involved, and that's just. I mean, we needed it.
Yeah, you're right. And the PGA Tour, when they came to us, said, if you think about it, it was in April. And they said, we want to come back, and here are the tournaments, and here are the dates. And Detroit would be the week of 4th of July weekend. So in April, if you recall what was happening in April at that time, COVID cases were very, very strong. Detroit was, in the epicenter, if you will, of COVID at the time. And so we had to make a decision in April, but we working with local, state, city, community leaders. They all gave us the, vote of confidence to stage the Rocket Mortgage Classic, albeit we did not expect to have fans. So you start to fast forward. So we had to reimagine the tournament, right? Look, feel, networks, what have you. And we'll talk about that tournament, but one of the most important things we took away was, if we're going to put on this tournament, we need to make sure that we're building further impact in the city. And that's where, unfortunately, COVID shined a spotlight on the fact that 30% of our Detroit residents do not have access to the internet. And in 20 or 2021, that's unfathomable. And you think about not having access to the internet. If you're 8 years old, school, right? If you're 28, job, searching for jobs or professional development. 8 to 80, health, telemedicine, healthcare. And so we found the Rocket Mortgage Classic, we're going to bring it, and we're going to raise a bunch of money, and it's, so that's where we kicked off.
Was that the changing the course and Connect 313?
Connect 313, okay. And we raised $2.7 million. dollars, and our friends, corporate partners, and Ricky, and that Wednesday before, Bubba actually on Sunday called us and said, I want to do something for you guys. And literally in 24 hours, we got NBC Golf Channel and Bubba, and he went and played 18 holes. And it was the first time anyone had done it on that Wednesday. It was like a pro-am, and they just mic'd the guys up, and they raised a bunch of money. I think it was like Harold Varner, Wesley Bryan, J Day, and Bubba. And then the tournament started, and it was awesome. Like, the story with Bryson, I mean, he averaged, 350 off the tee that day. Just crushed the course, and he was down 3 strokes going into Sunday. People forget. Matthew Wolf, who, young hot shot with a little hitch, was 3 shots up going into Sunday, and I rode behind them all day because I was like, I got to watch this, and I had an upfront seat.
You're working.
I was observing.
Observing,
right. Not spectating, but observing at a safe and healthy distance. And it was, so Bryson like crushed it, and great. So we were really fortunate. 2 years into it, we've had 2 great champions, and now it's like, all right, now so that we're building towards our tournament this year.
So in 2021, I wouldn't say it's similar necessarily to 2020. I feel like, and I hope that come July we're going to be a little bit closer to being back to normal. Probably not fully back to normal, but what are the contingency plans? How are you going about this year, as opposed to in last year, and maybe what prepared you for this year that you had to deal with in 2020?
Great question. I mean, last year we had to prepare with 5 or 6 weeks notice to put on a tournament without fans, and we figured that out, right? Along with all the safety. I mean, we still, at the end of the day, you still had, between a full field, probably 500 people on course, so we had all the protocols, what have you. For this year, I mean, we plan and hope to have fans. Our tournament this year is June 28th through July 4th, so we'll wrap up Championship Sunday on the 4th of July, which will be great. And then now we're just watching what's happening. I mean, we just saw this past weekend at Waste Management, which, have you ever been to Waste Management?
I have been there, yeah. One time.
I haven't yet.
It's crazy.
I need to.
I'm going to tell you right now, 16th hole, I don't care what day it is, Thursday through Sunday is like, it's nothing like I've ever been to in my life. It's like opening day at Wrigley meets Mardi Gras meets something like Indy
pool party in
pool
Vegas
party.
or something.
It is insane. But like what we're hopeful, and as we're watching in Arizona, they had 10, 12,000 people at Waste Management. Now they're on the Florida swing, right? So you have like Honda players, wherever else, they're planning on fans there. So we're planning on having fans. We're going to be building towards it more. Obviously, everything is subject to change, but we're building towards that, and we're working towards having a great field again. We've already got we've got some great guys already. We haven't announced anything yet, but we have some great players that are really loving the course. Like, it's amazing, Bogey. Like, you hear the stories. Ricky Fowler told me this story. His first time here at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, he's been to Detroit before, is I was driving around the city, and we went down the Shinola Hotel, had dinner. We took him to the rooftop, watched the fireworks. And he was telling me, he goes, Casey, you have to realize, there's 45 tournaments. The average guy plays 25 tournaments. Outside of Eastlake in Atlanta, every tournament course is in a suburb or blah, blah. He's like, so people ask me, like, hey, what do you think about D.C.? He's like, I've never been there because I'm always out in Maryland or Virginia. Hey, how's Dallas? I don't know. I'm out in, the suburb, whatever it might be. He goes, outside of Atlanta, Detroit, this is the only city we can truly be in. And so the guys loved, and their player and the wives and the family and the support loved the downtown the first year. Last year was a little bit abbreviated. Mm-hmm. We had to work around some things, but what's good is you start to get that flywheel momentum, because the first year we were hustling every week, going to tournaments and telling everybody, like, visit Detroit and check out all this, like, come visit us. And, we had a great field, solid field. And the next year, all of a sudden it was, hey, I heard, you're walking on the tee box at the Genesis in LA, or players, and you go to talk to somebody and like, you know what, Patrick Reed was telling me how great you got, how well you treated him, and he loved his comment to the hotel, and I put me down. And so it starts to be the flywheel effect. And, for us, it's a chance, to have great golf, to have, Detroit, which is still one of the, top 3 golf courses per capita and fans. But it's such an awesome opportunity for to shine a spotlight on the city.
Well, the city, it's unbelievable. I think the entire state, too, and that's something certainly that I'm passionate about. Golf here in the state of Michigan, Metro Detroit golfers, obviously a community that I'm a part of. But people don't realize there's almost 900 golf courses across the state of Michigan. I mean, it truly is a huge golf state. There's an appetite. The fact that a PGA event went out of our state, for so many years is unfortunate. So for you guys to bring it back, to bring it to Detroit specifically, and a course and a club as historic as Detroit Golf Club, it is, to me, the perfect marriage. And honestly, it couldn't be better timing either. Based on this past year, there's a stat out there, 7 million people this past year either picked up golf again or started playing for the first time in their life. Golf, I think, is truly evolving. And I don't need to spend too much time on this, but clearly I'm passionate about it. And for so many years you hear that, golf is an older person's sport,
right,
and, stuffy and all that. It's going to go away. It's not doing well. I think the exact opposite. And I'd be curious to know from, your standpoint, the marketing side, if you guys feel that way, because I think it's just changing and becoming younger, and younger people are really embracing it from all kinds of I guess, statuses in life. You can just want to go and drink and have fun. You can be a serious golfer, whatever it may be. Are you noticing a little bit of that?
I mean, absolutely. And I think, one is golf. I mean, golf is a wide range of, rabid fans, and you start to see from a youth standpoint. That's one of our initiatives, too, within the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Being in the city of Detroit, we want to make sure the community is engaged, working with great organizations like Midnight Golf, right? And making sure that the youth clinics, the youth, high school students, college students have a chance to have an opportunity to be an apprentice, work at the tournament, kids clinics, whatever it might be. We got some other things that exciting things that we're going to be announcing as part of it. But you're exactly right. I mean, that's a lot of, when you do the Rocket Mortgage Classic, shine a great spotlight in our city, all the great things that are happening not only downtown but in the surrounding communities. Do good by the community and with the Connect 313. Connect 313 and changing the course, and it's also like, endearing ourselves with the community, whether that's fans that come every day or the youth that have a chance for maybe one of the first times picking up a club or learning something. And it's, as we all know, it's a lifelong sport. I never picked up a club until, I think I was a senior in college, and I love the game. Don't get to play it very often, but I love the game, and for me, it's a lifelong sport, and I'm teaching my kids that too. And I would say the best 4 hours you can ever spend with somebody is on a golf cart.
The best memories in my life with my dad, being able to golf, whenever that is. And I'm fortunate to still be able to do that. Dewey, I'm going to hijack this for a couple more selfish questions on my part. And I got to ask this because you mentioned, you're getting ready for 2021
right,
and the Rocket Mortgage Classic, and you have a great lineup and players that are going to be here.
Yep.
I'm sure you get this question as many times as possible.
Tiger Woods.
The status of Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods,
I mean, you knew it was coming, obviously.
Well, we've been.
Well, before we do that, let's tell about you had the pleasure of playing around with Tiger, and you can tell that story as well, and maybe you'll I don't know, call in a chip or something that you have.
Yeah, well, trust me, I had a chance to play with Tiger Woods in 2018 and at the Quicken National, as it was Pro-Am in DC. It was easily. I'm a bogey golfer and proud to be one. I'm anywhere between 85 and 105, generally in high 80s and 90s, low 90s. And I had a chance to play 18 holes with him, and it was easily the most nerve-wracking moment walking up to that first tee. I settled in nicely, and I can tell you it was just an awesome, I told my daughter, who was 11 at the time with me, I'm like, honey, you don't understand, but you will tell this story at my funeral. Right? Like, Dad got to play 18 holes with Tiger.
Well, were you more nervous because you had Tiger Woods watching your swing, or were you more nervous because there were fans lined along the fairway and you could hit one of them?
What's funny, when I first told my wife I was going to play in the Pro-Am with Tiger Woods, she said, you can't do that. Like, you're not that good. I go, first of all, how would you know? Second of all, in 25 years of playing Pro-Ams, I promise you I'm not the worst golfer. I end up having like 2 or 3, it's a low net thing. I think I had 2 or 3 pars. I think I had a birdie, scored some points, and it's a low net. So, if Tiger's sitting on the green on 2 and I'm still floundering around the fairway sitting on 4, I was smart enough that I would just pick up my ball. Like, I'll see you at the next tee. But listen, having Tiger Woods, I mean, in Detroit, there's 45 golf tournaments that would love to have Tiger play every year. We know Tiger and his team, and we'll continue always to have the ask. And Tiger's got some lineage here. His father is friends with, some folks from Detroit. And, we hope one time, at least once he'll come to our fair city. And, but we're pretty proud of the lineup we had, last year with Jason Day and DeChambeau and Ricky and Bubba and Patrick Reed and some of the young guns, Victor Hovland, and Matthew Wolf. Really, that was just last year's field, I'm telling you. this year's, looks to be just as strong, if not stronger.
Well, we're excited to get out there and see the event in June of this year. And Tiger or no Tiger, it's going to be amazing. But if anybody out there listening or watching knows how to get this to Tiger, we'd love to have you.
I always tell you, I can tweet them.
Tweet them.
Whenever I go, pull out your little magic piece of glass and just go to Twitter and just, he may not read it, but just,
right.
It's, I'll try to use any type of influencer, and I could.
So before we transition into like more business stuff, let's wrap up with maybe the giving back and the Decked Out Detroit initiatives and RMC Charity Foundation, the Rocket Giving Fund. I know we touched on it again with 313 Connect 313, but can you just again, what across all the channels that you're overseeing, what's going on just in the the communities around the United States, if not here?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Dewey. I mean, one of the great privileges I have in my role is I'm doing marketing and advertising for the brands. But at the Rocket companies and with Dan Gilbert, and we have this philosophy of for more than profit, and Dan always says do well by doing good, and if you come downtown Detroit, and it feels just so special to work at a company where when I walk outside every day, when I'm in the office, but when I walk outside every day, and a little piece of what I do, I can see helping make an impact in the community, whether it's everything happening downtown with going vertical and construction and jobs, our work with schools and communities, our work with veteran homeless situation. There's 40,000 veterans that are homeless in this country, and I can't think of anybody that believes that a hero that comes home and kisses the ground should also have to sleep on it. We're heavily involved with Build for Zero and Community Solutions on that. So there's a lot of things that we do within the Rocket Giving Fund, as well as our Rocket Community Fund, where we're giving back to community. And by the way, hours. I mean, we'll have over 200,000 volunteer hours our team members will do every year. One of my favorite things I do every year, when we could, but we'll get back to it this year, is I go to schools and just read books to kids. And we have kids. I have 4 interns right now from high school through Urban Alliances, a great program, by the way. You should look at it, quite honestly, for Great Lakes Wealth. And for you guys, it's Detroit public school, high school kids that are interested in different industries. And I just met 4 young students yesterday, and that's awesome. It just feels like I do a lot of work. I work hard, but man, what brings me as much joy, if not more, is knowing that a little bit of what I do helps contribute to the communities, but being able to spend time and pay it forward, if you will, and give back to either the community or young people or whatever it may be. To me, that's it's all about leaving footprints and trying to leave a place better than you found it. So,
amen, brother. We're big advocates of giving back here at Great Lakes Wealth. We encourage you at Rocket Mortgage and Quicken Loans to continue those amazing efforts. We're doing our little small part here at Great Lakes Wealth. Kyle, you, and Sully and Brand25 and Metro Detroit Golfers are also, we see monthly on your social media, the checks that you're writing. And we encourage everyone out there, right? We're still just, in the surviving mode and trying to thrive, from 2020. But every day, somebody in our community has a situation that we can all help, right? So amen, and we appreciate all that. Let's switch gears real quick. We're running out of time, but I'd like to hear a little bit about, your business thoughts just in general, whether it's about just the changes of marketing and branding, but overall in business. We talked before this episode was going to be recorded about just, that you can't do everything yourself. Like, you have to have teammates. You have to hire professionals. You kind of, you can do it all yourself, but maybe that's not the right way. So just maybe what's your thoughts about just, business in general?
I mean, Dewey, thanks for asking. I mean, I think, I've been fortunate over the course of my career. I've dabbled in everything, right? I mean, growing up when the marketing and advertising world, it was pretty simple back in the 90s. You had television, you had print, that was it, right? And now the world that we live in with the marketing and advertising, the multi-screen, multi-device, all the attribution that goes along with it. So while I've learned a lot of things over the time, I will tell you, I'm a master of all, a jack of all trades, master of none. I try to be second or third best at everything, but make sure I surround myself with the best. And, as a leader, and I'm fortunate to be a leader within the Rocket companies and the Quicken Loans marketing team, what I strive on is finding, leaders and team members that are the best at what they do. And I want to make sure that as a leader, I'm there to give them guidance, feedback, guidance, knock down walls, whatever it might be, because I'm a firm believer that I work for my team. And if I can provide that to my team, that allows them ideally to operate operate as they should and know that they've got my support. And I think that's just like a flywheel effect. And I expect them to do that for if they have people that report to them and what have you. So, I've been fortunate to work with some and learn from some really good business people over the course of years. And I've got great mentors, that, at Quicken Loans right now. And so,
So, right, many hands make for light work,
Yep.
and a team is together, everyone achieves more. Is that about right?
That's right.
Okay, well, as we always do here at the What Do We Do podcast when we have a guest, Casey.
Oh boy,
we put you on the spot. Okay,
I forgot this part.
This is.
I didn't prepare. Go.
Listen, everybody.
I'm very intrigued.
If you're listening for the first time and you're not familiar, this is the segment we call What Casey Do.
What Casey do?
What
Go
Casey
ahead.
do, right?
Yep.
We would like to know, what would today's Casey Hurbis tell his 18-year-old self if he had a chance?
Yeah. Well, can I give you 2 examples?
You can give me 3 or 4. This is actually your show.
Well, I'm gonna give one because this is something that I preach to young people in business, and I'm sure you have a lot of young people that listen to you, right?
Absolutely. 8 to 88. That's kind of our demographic.
8 to 88. Well,
8 to
this
88.
this is something when I go to my kids' middle school, high school interns, I share them a great Warren Buffett quote, and the Warren Buffett quote is, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about it, you do things different. And I go, when Warren Buffett said that, he didn't apply it to the use of social media. And so what I tell young people is, there's another slide I show that says, I'm so glad I grew up in the 70s and 80s because I did a lot of stupid shit and there ain't no record of it, right? And
No receipts.
no
yeah.
receipts. But the reason I tell that story is, I always say, and I use an analogy of like a blank canvas. Like, all of us are painting a blank canvas. I mean, my canvas is only halfway there. I'm only halfway there. But young people in this business, think about your canvas and what you're doing every day and how that adds to that canvas. Because the last thing you want is, a decision you make today to maybe bite you in the butt or, come back around on you. I mean, there's times that, I've looked at my use of social media 8-10 years ago, and it doesn't feel very good. And I've made mistakes. I've woken up on a Saturday or Sunday and said, I don't know if I should have. And, I remind myself of that quote because as I'm painting my canvas, I want to make sure I don't make many mistakes. So that's one I tell young people. And the other one I do too, and the world was a lot different, Dewey, when you and I were coming out of school, is I didn't understand, and you're an excellent networker. You're one of the best networkers I know. I didn't understand the power of networking until I was probably 5 or 10 years into my career. The world was a lot different back then. Back then it was all about, grip, grin, handshakes, a power lunch. But the world we have today with, obviously LinkedIn, social media platforms, what have you, what I tell all young people is, I wish I told the 18-year-old Casey, understand the power of networking and how that can help you, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe 10, 15 years. It's crazy as we get older in business, how all of a sudden somebody comes back in my life or somebody needs something or I need something and I'm reaching back 10, 15, 20 years that maybe I haven't seen you in 10 or 15 years, but wow, back then for whatever we were doing, things were, good between us, but life moves on, is what I would say is, build network and build purpose and invest in those relationships because you never know when that relationship could help you personally, professionally, combination there with them.
Appreciate that, and I couldn't agree more. Right? They call that "don't burn bridges." Number one.
That's my other credo
right?
too, because
And
you will cross it.
And then Casey, as middle-aged young men that we are, we used to have these things. The Bogey, you never heard of this, but it's called a Rolodex, and you'd have everyone's
I have
business
one of
cards.
those.
Okay,
Come on.
so anybody out there,
I still have a
who's-
business card right
anybody
here.
out there who's a millennial or a Gen Z, or go Google Rolodex.
I used to keep all my business cards in my Franklin Covey.
Oh,
Remember
there you
used
go.
to roll
Yeah, sure. The day planner
That
or
was
whatever it's
that
called,
was the
right?
precursor to the Palm Pilot.
They call it the file fax or something.
Remember
like
every
that.
year in January you'd have to go to the Franklin Covey store and
Yes.
you'd have to stand in line and
Yeah.
you'd buy your thing and you put it in, you start get all your contacts.
Yeah,
and then you got the
absolutely.
Palm Pilot and then
Absolutely.
the world took off.
Yeah, but it is so important, context and relationships, right? Life is all about relationships, so I couldn't agree with that more. Before we wrap up, one last thing. Give us a minute or two just on your family. Share with, I know you love them all dearly, and I'm blessed to have met them and know who they are. And so give them a shout out if you can.
Yeah, well, I'm blessed. I met my wife. We've been married 22 years this year. We were lifeguards back. I was in a lot better shape back in the day. I played high school water polo and college water polo, and after during the summers of college, I would lifeguard because that's what swimmers did. And I met my bride back in 91. So, oh my God, we're going on like 30 years this year. I've known her. I've been married 22 years, and we're blessed to have 2 good kids, 15 and 10, Peyton and Cash. And they're great kids. You know, being a father is, it's the best job you could ever ask for. And so it's a lot of freaking work, though.
Well, a shout out, right? A shout out to Cindy, Peyton, and Cash, right? That's Casey's dad's on his way home.
That's why I'm working so hard, working with you to make sure that they're taken care of.
Absolutely. They're amazing, and we're blessed to have you here today, Casey. Kyle, anything else that's...
No, just, I mean, such good insight as somebody who is, trying to build really a couple of businesses, right now. The words that you said about networking, and even in my short career over the last, decade, 12 years, whatever you want to call it, it's amazing to me as I've kind of shifted roles, how intertwined it can be, in different roles now, but it's amazing people I interacted with when I was 20, 21, 22, and all of a sudden it's coming back around, and skills that I had, then and that I developed over the years, all of a sudden it's all, I need every single one of those things to be able to do my job on a daily basis. So just, tremendous advice. Really appreciate it.
And I'll tell you, Bogey, like I also think in the Metro Detroit area, and I say this in the marketing advertising world, but it applies most. This is a town, this is a city where it's inevitably, you're always within about 1.5 degrees of separation. In terms of networking, what have you. While you may not know somebody, but Dewey may or myself, it's a tight-knit community and across all industries. I mean, I'm in a different industry than Dewey, but, inevitably there's probably 60% crossover at the end of the day. And, talking about never burning bridges is like, your reputation, that 20 minutes, 20 years in 5 minutes to ruin it. And
it's huge.
Making sure you've got a good, solid reputation of building solid trust-based relationships, it will carry you far in life.
Well, Casey, with that, thanks again for coming in.
Yeah,
the second guest ever on the What Do We Do podcast, episode 34.
Who's number 3?
Well, that's the tease.
To be announced.
To be announced, right? Well, okay. Casey's done for the day, but as we always say here at What Do We Do, we're just getting started.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or any specific security. It's only intended to provide education about the financial industry. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Any indices referenced for comparison are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. As always, please remember investing involves risks and possible loss of principal capital. Please seek advice from a licensed professional.